Welcome everyone to Dittofi and Pro NoCoders How to Build a Learning Management System Part 2. We are going to continue on with the learning management system we built in 4 sessions for Part 1. You can catch those on Dittofi's YouTube channel. They're right there. You can go back and watch and learn how to do all of this from scratch. And today we're actually going to start into customizing the learning management system to suit your needs. So I'm going to hand it over to Samuel, and we're super excited. Thank you so much for being here, Samuel.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. So yeah, today we're going to be kind of recap slightly what we've got already. And then Sonia said, discuss kind of how we can customize this and make it look better, more customized to what you're building, and give some recommended approaches for how you might go about doing your kind of front end designs as well. So in the previous series of videos, which we've now uploaded to YouTube, if you haven't seen them so far, we built out base of a kind of LMS system, which included all these features that we're listing on the side here. We've got login, sign up, password recovery. We've got abilities to create courses, see those courses. We've got some admin pages where the administrators can administrate the courses. And then we've got things like videos and comments attached to different courses. So you can watch a video, learn about something, and then post some comments, ask questions, that kind of thing. We finished up in the last session by building a very custom front end for that app to give an example of how the Dittofi front end UI builder works. But today we're going to be talking a bit about how you would actually go about building that front end in practice if you wanted to build like a really high quality front end for your system. So that'll be the kind of week 1 agenda, going through this front end design. We'll also discuss a bit some new kind of features we're going to be adding into the system. And those will include things like adding the ability to categorize courses, lessons. We're going to add like an enroll feature so you can enroll to courses, also pay for courses. And then we're going to have some stuff to track kind of student participation in courses and how they're doing, and issue certificates at the end as well. So coming straight onto the front end, when you think about building the front end for an app with one of these no-code tools, we'd say you've really got 3 main paths you can take. The first one, the one we see quite a lot, is people hire kind of UI, UX designers who build out custom front-end designs using tools like Figma, if you come across that. Other people might do this, but they also might incorporate what's known as a CSS framework. So a CSS framework is basically a list of out-of-the-box styled components that you can use within your app. A very famous one is Bootstrap, which I think Twitter released, and that contains a whole bunch of standardized off-the-shelf components that you can use in your app development. And then a third option you've got is people have released whole templates that you can take and install. These templates you can think of as UI kits, user interface kits. So they'll be templates that include things like lists of buttons that you can use in your apps, maybe lists of like icons, and different components basically you can use within your app development. In terms of the first option, hiring a designer, as I said, if you were to do this, you could go about hiring someone who could build you like a Figma design, for example. And then you could go and you can take that Figma design and try and translate it into an actual product within the Dittofi platform, for example. This allows you to build very, very custom front ends exactly as you want them, which is a real benefit. And if you get a good designer, you can get something which looks incredible at the end. Those are the real positives of that. The disadvantages, I'd say, are that this could be a more costly and slower process. First off, you have to find and hire the right designer and go through the process of actually designing the platform. This can be quite complicated sometimes if you've got a complicated app that you're building. So it could be a relatively lengthy process. And once you've done that, actually translating that Figma file into something which can run in like a web application can be a bit difficult as well. People have built things which allow you to translate Figma, for example, directly into web code. And Figma themselves have got options for exporting web code from their designs and also taking some of the CSS code and using that within your final product. But right now, I'd say there's not a really great solution for that. Most of these products which translate Figma into web design will be dependent on how the design has actually gone about designing the product. And also, most of them won't give you a product that is really responsive and works in the same way as a web app actually works. And the reason for that is that products like Figma, for example, have built with a very different paradigm than is used in traditional web development. So, recap there, I'd say hiring a designer, if you've got a decent budget and amount of time and you've got some experience in designing apps, can yield like a really good result. But there are some complications surrounding it as well. In terms of using a CSS framework, as I said here, what you'll get is basically a list of standardized components that you can use within your app. So you can see here some examples. You might get a list of standard buttons you can use, cards, alerts, tabs, and so on that you can put within your app. I'd say the advantages of this are that the CSS frameworks have been developed over a really, really long period of time by really great companies with very large budgets, and they take into account things like random inconsistencies between different browsers, for example. If you put a button in Google Chrome, it might look slightly different to a button in Safari. They take account of that kind of thing as best as possible. They also include standard components. So when you're going about designing your app, if you haven't done it before, you might get really creative and come up with your own ideas for what components should look like. And those might differ largely from what the standard people use. And then in the end, you've got something which doesn't kind of meet standard design practices. So CSS frameworks will help you there as well. And then I'd say they give you a pretty good looking app when you're finished as well. Disadvantages of them are you might need to learn a bit how that particular framework works. If you're using something like Bootstrap, they have massive amounts of documentation which explain how that framework works, how you can get like a card, for example, on your screen and so on. But if it's your first time doing it, it will take some time to dig through that. And then if we look finally at the templates and UI kits, so the templates and UI kits are normally built on top of CSS frameworks, actually. So you'll get a template that's built using a framework like Bootstrap, for example. But what it will do is it will take it a little bit further. So it will customize the framework to change the colors a bit, maybe give you more options. And then also come with a normally like a built out view of all the different components that you can use. So something like you can see on the right hand side here, this is showing you that you've got like these chat components, for example, that you can use within your app. This has the same advantages as the CSS frameworks in that you'll get a standardized design, but I'd say it has the additional advantage that it is basically a bit less low level. So rather than having to go in and look at the docs for Bootstrap, for example, you could probably get started by looking at the example template they give you and then just copying and pasting the different components around into the right place in your screens. Also, they've got an advantage that they will have had UI designers who've come and looked at that template as well, and they'd have suggested modifications to make on top of Bootstrap, for example, in order to make it look and feel better for the end user. Also, a lot of these UI kits will have had heavy investment in them as well. So quite often development agencies will build these out and sell them on online platforms. And they'll spend a considerable amount of time actually building them and trying to make them look good, because it's quite a competitive space for that as well. So the chances are you'll get something which looks pretty good if you use this. So for me, I'm a non-designer developer, I would normally go with this template approach here. This allows me to build something pretty fast, allows me not to worry too much about the design, means I don't have to collaborate with different designers, and it allows me to keep the cost low on apps that I might be building. That's not to discredit the other two options at all. As I said, if you've got time, budget, experience, and so on, then doing a totally custom thing will give you a great result as well. But this would normally be my preferred approach. If you are to use these templates here, one thing to be aware of is they normally come with some kind of license agreement associated with them, which specifies what you can do with it essentially. So this is an example from one bought from a popular website, which you can see up here. Well, actually, this one's from Theme Forest. This says, for example, on this particular license, you're allowed to build kind of one product with this template. If you've got an extended license, you can do a little bit more and so on. With a standard regular license, normally the cost is relatively low, and it can normally be enough for you to build your initial product. And then for extended ones, it might be slightly more. But again, normally less expensive than doing an entire custom thing, given the amount of time you save using these. So today, I'm going to show you how you can take one of these templates and basically get it into your app so you can start making your app look good very, very quickly. So the one I'm going to be looking at today is one that we found on Theme Forest. This particular template here, regular license, $24. And then there are other licenses as well. If I look at the kind of preview for this, I can see roughly what the thing looks like. We have like login and sign up screens. You have screens for listing things like courses, screens for things like your homepage, your app, and that kind of thing. If you wanted to use this, what you'd need to do is purchase a license for this. Once you've done this, you get an option to basically download the code that's associated with this template. You'll want to pick templates which are HTML templates. You'll see that there are other templates you can pick, like ones that are built with React or Node.js, Next.js, or something like that. You want to use these HTML templates, and this is because these are the ones that you can import into the platform the easiest. You can import the other ones as well, but it's a little bit more complicated, so I'd always go with the HTML ones. You can also take a look and see what framework this particular template might be built on top of. So this one here is built on top of Bootstrap. You can see up here we've got the Bootstrap sign here. And I've picked that because I have some knowledge of how this CSS framework works, so that helps me get a bit further with it. But again, if you don't, it doesn't really matter, because the template gives so many examples that you can get started very quickly just by using the kind of out-of-the-box examples that they give you here. So once you've got the template and you've exported it, you're going to have a bunch of files, which are HTML files that will look something like this. Doesn't really matter if you understand exactly what's going on here. And what you can do is you can then come and basically import these into the platform. So what I've already done, preparation for this, is I've imported a kind of home screen for our app that we're building, which is going to list out all of our different courses. You can see this one was one I showed a minute ago, I think, these course ones here. And I've imported some kind of individual course page as well, where we can list out our lessons for a course and have the things for like course reviews and so on. and I've imported one for a kind of course overview screen where users will come to when they first want to sign up to a course and actually either buy courses, or if they're free, just click into the courses. If I preview this and just go back to the home screen, you'll see on this first screen here with our list of courses, this is all getting pulled from the back end using the logic that we set up in the previous tutorials. I can then click into my course, again, loading up the information from the back end of my app. And then at the moment, we'll just click on this Buy Now button, which I haven't actually hooked up yet, I think. Oh, no, there we go. Let's refresh, which will take me through to the course lesson screen here. In the next weeks, as I said, we're going to integrate some more functionality to actually purchase courses. But for this initial example, we're just going to click into courses just to have this individual course lesson. So let's say now that we wanted to add a new page to our app. Let's say right now we've got no login and sign up screens. In the previous app that we built, we had kind of pop-up signups, but now I'm going to add individual login and sign up screens. And I can use the ones directly from this template here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and do new page. I'm just going to pick an empty page and go into here. So I get a blank page like this. And then I'm going to come to my list of pages that I got with my template. And I've got this one here called login.html, which looks like the right kind of thing. And I'm just going to Control-A, Control-C to copy this page. I'm then going to come to this code button up here, which we haven't looked at yet. But this code button here will basically allow you to upload code directly into your page. So I'm just going to do Control-V to paste that, and then just click Update. And you can see that takes all of the HTML and it imports it into the app. If I click on the different components, you can see they're being kind of converted into Dittofi components. So you've got headings, labels, buttons, and so on. It's worth noting when you import, there may be one or two inconsistencies every now and again. For example, in this particular case, the images have loaded up fine, but sometimes you might see the images don't load. And that could be because the template is using I guess like relative paths for the image. So it's pointing to a URL that can't actually be found. If that happens, you can click on the image and just go to the source section here and change the URL. In this case, this one has worked fine. And you might see sometimes that the icons might not work. For example, it's here, and that might be because they're using some custom icon library. But we can look into how you can solve that as well. But to get started, I'm just going to rename this one here to login. We'll give this the page path of login. And then let's just build this a second and see kind of what we've got to begin with. So if I now come to my preview screen again and just refresh this, and let's go to my login page here. Okay, so now I've got my login screen kind of put in here. So the icons are a bit messed up here. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure I want this top bar anyway. So I'm now going to come and just add a sign up page in the same way. And I'm going to show you how you can actually hook up the rest of these pages once you've actually imported them. So if I go to this second tab here, I'm just going to rename this one to sign up. And this will be, give it the path of sign up. And then I'm going to come to this second file that I've got on my desktop, which was the code from the sign up screen. I'm just going to copy this, come in here, update. And again, I've got a pretty standard sign up screen that's been added to the page. Once you've imported the page, you'll have all of your components, as I said, translated into the Dittofi components. what you'll then need to do is go through and connect these components to any of the front-end actions that you've built here. So we had already built a sign-up action to sign up. So I can come to this register button, and let's just do add front-end action and say on click, sign up. And then on my login screen, I'm going to do the same. So I go to my login page. Sorry, that's the action. If I go to my login page, I'll just click on this button here, add front-end action, do login, like so. I then need to, once I've hooked up the actions to the right buttons, I need to also update any of the text links on the screen. So if I click on any of these links, these will be pointed at things to do with the original template. So we see here the URL is signup.html. So if I click on that, probably nothing will happen. Yeah, it takes me to some page that doesn't actually exist. So what I need to do is I need to switch the text link to a page style text link. This allows me to navigate to a page that I've built within my app, so like an internal page. And I just need to update the URL here to the slug that we put on under this page settings. So here we had the sign up one. And I'm going to do the same on this one here. So I'll make that a page and I'll do / sign up like so. And in actual fact, I think this should probably say login. It should point to the login screen. That make more sense. Once you've updated the text links, so you've now updated the text links and you've attached your actions to the buttons. The next thing you need to do, I've got one other text link here. Actually, I'll just update first. Just the login as well. The next thing you need to do is then come and update any of your forms. So in the previous session, we saw how you could attach variables to form components like text inputs and so on. And we created a bunch of variables to do that. So what I would have to do here is I'll come for my sign up form. I can come and find the sign up variables. So I had a sign up email and a sign up password. So, and then I'll come to we also had actually a role as well, if I remember correctly. So I'll add, let's just change this text input here to the role. We can leave the confirm password for now because we didn't include that in our original app that we built, but we can add something in for that in a bit. And then if I come to my login screen, take a look at that. We've got username or email. So it's going to add the login email. And then we've got the login password. So that's all set up now. And our login button is attached as well. So if I was to run this now, I've got to click this button, take the username, password, and log in. The next thing I want to do, though, is I want to say, once the user's logged in, I'm going to redirect them to the home page of the app. So to do that, I'm going to open up my pages panel here. I'm going to click on this little down arrow and do edit page settings. And then I'm going to do add rule to this redirect rule section here. And what this is going to let me do is it's going to let me say, redirect my user to this particular URL. So just this / when a given condition is met. So I'm going to say when is logged in equals true. So we created a variable before, is logged in, which controls whether the user is, or it stores true or false dependent on whether the user is logged into the app. So I'm going to say redirect to the homepage when the user is actually logged in. And then I'm going to do the same actually for my sign up screen as well. So I'll say redirect to the home page when is logged in equals, and then true, and then save that. And then I'm just going to build this. And whilst that is going, I'm also just going to take a quick look on my home screen. Let's see. And we had courses and dashboards at the moment are our two pages. So if I come back to my login, I'm actually just going to delete some of these items here. We can add more stuff in as we go, but for now we don't need all of these, so let's get rid of them. And this can be, let's say, or in fact, actually, I'm not sure I want this entire top bar at all, so I'm just going to delete this whole thing. Well, let's see. Okay, awesome. Let's just refresh this for a second and see. So now actually, I think my user's already logged in. So when I try and go to that login page, it's just going to put me onto this home screen here. But if I come to my backend and just log out by running my logout action, and then let's just refresh this again. And let's go to my login page again now. Now it will let me log in. And if I go, let's see, actually log in. Now it pushes me through to my login screen, to my main courses page here. So that seems to work. And then, so let's just go to the sign up screen and let's update our heading on here as well, and then test that out. So again, let's remove some of these items here that we don't want. And then let's build this again. So once my users logged into the app build, we were going to give them the option of viewing and taking courses. And we were also going to allow the instructors to upload their courses via the dashboard screen. So in reality, when the user's actually logged in, we only want to display this dashboard link if they're an instructor. And also we want to hide these login and sign up buttons once they're actually logged in, and maybe replace them with a log out button instead. So the way we're going to do that is if I click on any of these components, like the dashboard one here, I can use this show option here to say show the dashboard tab only when is logged in. So only when the user is logged in, for example. And I could also go a step further and I could say, we take our current user variable. I could say current user role is equal to, and then actually let's check, we had a role instructor. So yeah, I could say only show this when current user role is equal to the instructor role. So where is logged in and current user role is equal to instructor role. And then I could say only show, I could actually, let's copy these buttons that we've got here. Yeah. Right, let's just copy one of these buttons. And let's add a log out button here. And let's say only display the log out button. If I put a div block inside here, for example, I'll say only display the log out button when is logged in. So when the user's actually logged in. And on these ones here, I'll say Let's cut this and move it. I'll say only display these when is logged in is equal to false, for example. So if I build this again now, we should be able to dynamically show and hide these dashboards, log in, log out buttons, and then we can hook up this log out button to actually log you out of the app. So let's just preview this again now. Okay, awesome. So now we get our log out button shown because we've logged in. My current user is a instructor, so they can see this dashboard button here. To test that out, if we come to our users table, find the user that I'm logged in with, and let's switch their role to member, for example. Then just refresh this. Then our dashboard one should disappear. So I can switch this back to instructor. Let's bring that back. And then let's just go finally to our logout button over here. And in this particular case, I might want to change this to a, actually I might want to say, add front-end action and say on click. And then let's say log out. So when I click on this, I get logged out of the app. So let me just build that one more time. So if we just refresh this again now. And click this log out button here now. And now it logs my user out, and I can now see my login and sign up screens. And if I click on my login, it brings me through to this one again. So I should now be able to log back in. Let's see. Okay, yeah, and now we got our dashboard, courses, and our log out button here. So that's all kind of hooked up and working. So just to recap very quickly, the process is going to be download, if you're using a template, download your templates, paste your code in here, and just click this update button to import it. Go through and resolve any inconsistencies. For example, if there are some missing images or missing icons like we had. Then go through and attach your front-end actions to the different buttons and so on in your page. Then go through and attach your form inputs to the different variables that you've already set up. And then also attach like your links to the different pages so you can navigate between the different screens properly as well. So now that we've done that, you've kind of got a process in place so we can take more screens from our template and start to import them as well. One other thing which I forgot to mention is if you look at the templates themselves, the templates will quite often come with some style related information in them. So I'm just going to copy this out a second just to give you an example. Let me see. If I come in, look at this code for my template that I've exported, I have all of my all of the relevant code for my app. But then at the very top in this header section here, I have a bunch of links as well, which are pointing to different style sheets. So these style sheets are what include all of the styling for the app. So they're the reason this button's green and these images are like that and so on. So one point I forgot is you also need to import these style sheets as well. And the way you can do that is, if we just take a look at an example, you would look in the very, very top of the section, very top of the code. You should have like a head section up here, which is wrapped in these keywords like head and head. And in here, you can come and find any items which look like this, which have like link and which have style sheet next to them. And you can come and you can take the item here, which is under href. You can copy it. You can come back to the platform, go to pages, home page, edit page settings, and you can add imports down here. So I can come and do add import, leave the type as CSS, and then just paste in the URL for that particular style sheet. What that style sheet actually looks like is just a whole bunch of code, but all of this code has got styling in for like the font sizes and colors and so on. So it's important that you import this. If you don't do that, then when you load the screen up, it might look a bit different or a lot different. So that's one thing you've got to remember as well. So in the last bit now, I'm just going to go through some of the screens and show some of the missing features that we've got, and then talk a bit about how we're going to start to implement those. And then in the coming sessions, we're going to actually implement them. And in doing so, we may add 1 or 2 more screens from our template as well. So first up, if we come to our home screen here, we can see we've got our list of courses, which are down the screen here. We have options to filter for courses by category. So we need a way basically of categorizing our different courses under different keywords. We also have ways of searching for courses based on their ratings. So we need a way of actually rating these courses as well, which we haven't done yet. And then we can also search by instructor, which we've kind of already set up. But when I actually click into the course itself, we've got a bit more information about our instructor, like short descriptions they've written, reviews and ratings and things like that. That we're going to be incorporating as well. So in terms of we start on this first screen here, in terms of the course categories, if we just go back and review our design for the way we're storing our data, we created already a courses table here. We said one user can create lots of different courses, and we're going to associate our user with the course they've created by using the user ID column here. So what we're also going to need to add is another table here where we're going to store our course categories. And here we're going to have a list of categories for our courses. And then we're going to associate those. So let's just call this categories. We're going to associate those with different courses. So for our course categories, the columns we're going to need are going to be like a name. This is going to be the name of the course category. We're going to uncheck this option here so that we always need to enter a name in for our category. Then we're going to add a description. So this will be a description of the category. Save it. So then each course we're going to say can belong to one category, or in other words, one category can have multiple courses associated with it. So we're going to use the same kind of trick that we use with associating courses with users. We're just going to add a category ID column in here. So what we can say now is if we were to add a category for, just see our example, something like art, for example. So we could have art. We could now say this is category 1. I could say each of these is going to be associated with category 1, for example. or better, we could rename this to software development or something, as all of our courses are to do with software related stuff. So each one belongs to category ID 1. Once I click into my course, and also on the right hand side, I can see like a rating for that individual course. This rating, let's see if I click in here, is the average, basically, I think, of all of the ratings that different users have given to this particular course. And users can also add just general reviews for the course as well. So what I'm also going to add here is a reviews table where the users can add reviews for individual courses. And this reviews table will allow them to enter in a rating for that course as well. So let's do reviews, and then we're going to have titles. The user can enter in a title for their review. Then we're also going to have, let's see, we've got like a title here and then a description. So we could have, or comment maybe, we could call this, which should also be text. And then the user can also select from like a star rating 1 to 5. So we'll add a rating column as well. I believe we have, ratings here. So we call this rating. And then each, and then we'll have a user ID. Actually, this will be the person who's actually submitted the review. So if I was to log in now and post a review, that will be associated with me. And then we'll also have a course ID, which will be the course, a reference to the course that this rating is being associated with. So now we can come here, submit some content, title, and pick like a star rating for our course. And then at some point, I'm going to show you how you can kind of take the average of all those to give an average star rating for your course. Then our users are currently stored in this users table here, and we're storing like first name and last name. I think we want to add some additional information here as well. So we can add something like job descriptions, where the user can post up what their job is. And then we'll also add just a general, this will kind of populate this section here. We'll also add a general description section where the user can write a description about themselves. And then I think the rest of this information that we're going to be displaying up here is all going to be kind of calculated. So we'll know how many courses a user's created, how many people have enrolled in that course, look at their reviews and give them some average rating based on that as well. Then once you actually click into the course, so we go to buy it, we actually bought it. Currently what we're doing is we're listing out a bunch of lessons that are associated with that course. But what we want to do in reality is I want to be able to break my lessons up into different sections. So I can have like a section here that's got 5 lessons associated with it, for example. So I'm going to add a concept of course sections, and lessons are going to be put into sections. So we can have a section here called like building a user authentication system, and then this might have 5 lessons associated with it. So I'm going to come here, create an empty table, and this table here we could call, I guess, course sections. And this is going to have, let's see, a name for the given section, and then we're going to, probably just a name is fine. And then we're going to need to be able to assign lessons to a section. So one lesson belongs to one section. Each section can contain multiple lessons. So in our lessons table, what we could do is we could add a column here for section, or say course section ID. And this will be a reference to the relevant section that this course actually, that this lesson actually belongs to. So for example, if I had a section here called part 1, what I could do now is in my lesson section here, I could say all of these are belonging to part 1, for example. So this will allow me to group my lessons into sections. Then finally, when the user goes to actually buy this, we want to know what users have kind of bought what courses. So what users are like enrolled into what courses. So I'm going to add a table here, which will be a course users table, which will allow me to store a list of what users are belonging to what particular course. So we'll call this one course users. And in here, we want to contain a list of courses and also a list of users. So I'll have a course ID column here, which will be a reference to the ID from the courses table. And then I'll have a user ID column as well, which is going to be a reference to the users table. So this way I can say like user ID 1 is a member of, or user ID 5, let's say myself, is a member of like course 2, for example. So this would be like course 2 and user ID 5. So this will allow me to track what users are enrolled in what particular courses. So now we can group the stuff into sections. We've got our descriptions, got a place for reviews for the course and so on. And we've got a way of tracking what users are enrolled in what particular courses. When we build out the payment related functionality, we're going to add a little bit to this as well, to store information on what users have paid and how much they've paid, things like that. But for now, we'll just come to our courses table here, and we'll just add a price column here, which is going to be a number. And this will allow us to specify a price for a course as well. We're going to use a number field rather than a decimal, and we're going to specify the prices in the lowest denomination. So like 100 will be like $1 or £1, depending on what currency you're working with. And the reason for this is most of the payment providers that you integrate with, which we'll be looking at in the next lessons, will do it like this. They'll expect you to enter in prices in the lowest denomination. So I want to keep it consistent with that. And then the last things I want to add are on my courses. You'll see I now have a section here called what you'll learn. This gives me a list of the kind of learning objectives for the course. And then you'll see I've got a requirements section, which gives me a list of requirements for the course. So I'm going to add another table here, which is going to be called, let's say, course objectives. And this is where we can come and list out all of the objectives for the course. And then we'll also need to have a course requirements table as well. We can list out all of the requirements. So let's add one extra table here again. And we can rename this one to course requirements, like so. And then for each of these tables, we just need to really have one text string. So we can just call this one requirement, or we can call it maybe description. And then we need to know what course this requirement belongs to. So we'll also add a course ID column as well, which will be a number, and that will reference our original course. And then we'll do the same for the course objectives actually as well. So we'll just have a description here, which will be a text field. And then we'll have a, I guess, yeah, we'll need a course ID as well, which will be the ID of the course this is associated with. So I think this should allow us to build out most of the functionality that we need in the next session. As I said, we'll come across some other things like the payment-related stuff will require some additional columns. When we come to issuing certificates, you might need additional column for that as well, but we'll come to that when we build out that bit of functionality. But I think for today, we've got 6-7 minutes left, so maybe a good time to stop and take any outstanding questions as well, if there are any.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Samuel. We did have one question come in from Michael, and Ray helped to answer it, but just for the sake of the recording, in the redirect URL, when logging in, the password is visible. Is there a way to hide the password?
Let me just see. Let's get out this again. So when you click this button here, the password is visible. Let me just double check that. So if I log in. All right, okay, yeah, let's see. So yeah, there's a way to hide this. And this is an example of small inconsistencies you might come across actually when you import a template. So there are different ways of submitting data to the back end of your app. The way that we're doing it in Dittofi is using these backend actions, which are all living behind endpoints, which we kind of discussed before. And technically, these are sending what's called like JSON data to the endpoint. There are other ways of submitting data, and one of them is by using HTML forms. You don't need to worry too much about this, but just to be aware that if you import a template and you have a form and there's some components in it and you have a button inside it, so if you've got a form or a button inside it and you then click on that button, sometimes you'll see it's going to be using this form submission way of sending data. And in that case, it will actually refresh your entire page and it will take any inputs to the form and it will display it up in the URL as well. So there's two fixes for this. Maybe the simplest one is to just remove the form. Sometimes you don't want to do that because if you import a template, it might have some styling on it. So the other solution is to come here and where you've got on your button, here it says type submit. If I change this to type button, that removes that kind of form submission functionality. So if I build this again now, let me just show you that again. If I come here before that rebuilds, you see up here, this is refreshing the entire screen. This is the process for that form submission. And then it's sending the data kind of in this URL up here. Once I just log out again, and let's go back to my login screen and just refresh this. Log it now. Now it just brings you straight to the page. So you don't really need to worry too much about why that is, but if you're interested, you can look on W3 Schools and form, and it will talk to you a bit about HTML forms and how they work. And basically they have this built-in functionality that I was talking about to refresh your page and put all the stuff up here, which you don't want. that's.
Perfect. Thank you. If anyone else has any questions, please pop them into the, or actually, I'll just go ahead and let you unmute. So you should be able to unmute yourself if you have any questions for Samuel. No? All right. And just to reiterate, when we continue with you, because this series on the LMS is continuing in 2 weeks with Samuel, next week we're going to be Cameron and I will be demonstrating progress that we've made in the bootcamp, the Dittofi bootcamp that we're running, which you are welcome to join us if you want to go to pronocoders.com and click on Dittofi bootcamp up at the top. But in 2 weeks, what will we be continuing with, Samuel?
So next session, we're going to be implementing some of that functionality that we put into the database design. And then the exciting things we'll be adding are the payment related stuff. So you can actually sell your courses online. And that will be a kind of a new thing that we haven't looked at in the other sessions before. And we'll also be looking a bit at API integrations for that, and also for issuing certificates for when people actually take their courses as well. So yeah, some exciting features that are going to get added in there.
Perfect. So I encourage everyone to sign up for, I don't know if you have to sign up separately for that or not, for in the...
Yeah, you have to sign up separately at the moment. I think it's because we're just because we're doing it via our Eventbrite.
Right, got it.
Build our own event management system shortly as well in Dittofi,
Awesome.
and we'll do that.
Perfect. So that session that's coming up, where we'll be doing the more database design connection stuff, and maybe even getting into the payments and APIs, that's coming up in 2 weeks. And then next week we will be we'll be covering some of the bootcamp stuff, and hope to see you at both of those sessions. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you so much, Samuel and James, for being here and for providing this education for us. We really, really appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Very much, Julia.
Yes, of course. Bye.
Bye-bye.